Hi there, it's Paul Hogden here from SEO Underground, and I am here with the one and only Mike Martin. And Mike is going to be speaking at our event. And I am really, really excited to have Mike ahead of time to do an interview with him and talk about where he comes from in the world of SEO, the sorts of things that he's done, and some of the things that perhaps he hasn't done as well as he wished he had, and also what he's going to be talking about during SEO Underground as well. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you very much, Paul. Great. Yes, glad to be here. Looking forward to the event.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So let's start with the obvious. For those who don't know, tell us who you are and what you do in the marketplace.
Well, to be honest, I started as a locksmith. I started out on the road as a locksmith. I used to break into houses and cars all the time, and the cost of Google Ads forced me into SEO. I jumped on the SEO bandwagon and never looked back. And kind of now we have thousands of students who follow up what we do. I own some really good softwares, both for lead generation, content creation, and lead collection, distribution, and sale. And that's kind of all we do in the marketplace at the minute. Obviously, we've got our own rank and rent and lead generation networks, which we make a hell of a lot of money out of.
Excellent. That's good stuff. So what you sort of touched on it a moment ago. What sort of attracted you to kind of the darker side of SEO, to kind of actually looking at the workings and working out how to make it work faster and more efficiently?
I'm super lazy, okay, and I don't like doing anything that I don't enjoy. So if I'm not enjoying it, I hate it. So I like to automate absolutely everything that I possibly can. So as far as the darker side, is any side of SEO really not darker side? I mean, I when I speak to someone and they say I'm a white hat SEO, I kind of want to punch them in the face, because you're still trying to get to the top of Google.
Yeah.
So it's bullshit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of the darker side of SEO. I kind of believe it's all the darker side of SEO. Love it, and yeah, if anything can be automated, then I'm all in.
Yeah, I think really when people talk about SEO, what they mean is SEM, manipulation rather than optimization, because everybody's gaming the system in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
Even just going out, writing good content. You're writing good content because you want your page to rank better. It isn't what's just come out of your head. You've used tools, you've used other stuff, and then you're going to buy backlinks or get backlinks or whatever. They're not organically sort of appearing. So it's all gaming the system, really. It's just, as you quite rightly say, some people just, like to sit up there on the moral high ground, and
Yep.
sort of, sit there chucking brickbats at everybody else for doing something that perhaps is perhaps a little bit more unorthodox and a little bit unusual, but it's all still much for muchness, though, isn't it? It's just that they're probably more jealous of the fact that perhaps you're doing something a little bit better at a bit of a greater scale.
Well, you make more money, don't you? The bigger it goes, the more money you make, and we're all in business to make money. So, yeah, they can keep the morals. I'll keep my fancy car and big house.
Yeah, you keep the money. That's it. Good man.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, what's the one thing that you wish you could go back in time and talk to the younger Mike, and sort of at the start of your SEO career? What would you go back and advise him?
Wow. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Everything has worked out perfect. Honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't want to chance changing the future, because everything we've done has worked out perfect. I accidentally created the way I create my links and my PBNs and my linking structure was completely by accident.
Right.
And I didn't realize what I was doing was going to still be generating so much money 10 years later. Okay. So no, I wouldn't chance changing anything, because if I told me how to do it back then, I probably wouldn't have done it. I did it out of pure necessity, and I'd want to make all the same mistakes I've already made. I won't want to change a thing.
Well, speaking of mistakes, what do you think's the biggest sort of howler that you've made? What's the thing that you sit there even now and go, I cannot believe that I did that, and I cannot believe it went so badly wrong?
Ooh,
And what did you learn from it? That's the most important thing.
went wrong. You've hit me with some stuff here that kind of I don't really. The big thing is, right, in any business, all right, and this is why certain people are still in business and certain are not, is that you get 9 cock-ups for every 1 success. So kind of I'd be here all day. We've done that many cock-ups. I mean, literally, yeah, we attempt new things all the time, constantly trying to.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, we look at business in 2 ways: innovation and persistence. That's it. You don't need anything else to be successful in business. And it's the same with SEO, innovation and persistence. But there's that many things we've done that's wrong. I mean, we've lost massive amounts of money on stupid projects. Some that we probably couldn't even say on here because I'd get arrested. But yeah, I honestly don't know the answer to the question. I'm sorry. Yeah, 9 out of every 10 projects we do fail. So people. I've got a picture up here actually that says it's got a picture of a mountain with success on top, and then there's all the hard work, persistence, late nights, rejection, sacrifices underneath. The stuff people don't see. So we've got more failures than we have successes, a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, and if you're trying to fail faster, which I think is what a lot of people try to do, is they don't dwell on it too much, but they just move on to the next thing, and then try that, and if it's working, they stick with it, and if it's not, they drop it, and kind of go through a lot quicker. It's not necessarily a bad thing in any way, shape, or form to get stuff wrong, and I've personally made the biggest learnings from the things that I've done massively wrong. I think it's kind of human nature. I think you have to hit rock bottom to bounce, and it's one of those things where you have to go through that process. But if I guess if you've had quite a fair few little hiccups throughout your SEO journey or your journey, then perhaps they're not so noticeable to you.
No, I mean the biggest one was probably back in the early, probably 2011, 2012 era. We figured out the way of writing content I figured out a way of writing content that would rank all my websites very, very easy. But obviously ranking back then was super easy. And I stuck with that for about 7 years, and I didn't innovate, and I didn't try and push forward, and I didn't try new things. And because I didn't, we kind of almost lost everything. I remember going to the, we went to Aldi shopping, and we were skimpy and my missus, and she had to borrow me £40 to buy a drill so I could afford to do my next jobs. And it wasn't because before that we'd had a network of guys working for us and doing loads of other things. But the problem was that we hadn't innovated, we hadn't kept moving forward. And so kind of what we do now is, like you said, if you find something that works, stick with it. Well, we don't kind of stick with it anymore. If we find something that doesn't work, we never think about it again. If we find something that does work, we try and figure out how to automate it, and then we push with it as long as we can while it's automated, and then we move on to the next idea and the next idea, and we kind of push through that way. But yeah, I guess that was kind of the biggest one, because I figured this content thing out. I never had a fallback plan. I mean, even now to this day, when we're doing massive money, we've got teams in the offices, we've got staff, we've got development thingies working for us all over the world, and I still have a van at home on my drive. I still have a garage out the back that is stocked up with locksmith tools and equipment and all of the car key programming equipment and everything. To this day, I still keep all that, and I still buy stuff now and again, just in case we ever fail. I always have a fallback plan now. And back in the day, I didn't, and I probably didn't have the opportunity to have a fallback plan. So I guess, not having a fallback plan was probably my biggest regret, because we didn't innovate at the time. But you learn.
Absolutely, you learn.
Yeah, you win or you learn. I think it was one of the guys said to me the other week, win or you learn. And it's like, yep, totally agree.
That is a good phrase. So what are some of the resources that you use? I mean, I know a lot of the resources that you use are your own, because you've created them from areas that needed those sort of tools and apps and stuff like that. But what other sort of resources do you still keep going back to, or new tools and resources that you're using now that seem to do you well?
Most of the tools we used, I mean, obviously I use my own tools. We use, I like a tool called Xagio, Xagio, which is great for your websites, and it manages all your WordPress sites and everything else. I use Page Rewriter, which is our new content tool, and I did that because of all the other ones put together just didn't quite do what we needed for mass content creation. Magic Page Plugin and Lead Simplify, obviously, because we kind of build tools for our own business. There's a suite of tools called Viper tools. They're expensive as hell, but they work for doing all them little jobs that you really don't want to do manually. They become a nightmare. And everything else, we have a strategy where we create what we call single niche PBNs, which I'll talk about at the event, and how we create our linking structure, which is totally different than I've seen any other SEOs doing. And the way we do what we do means that our backlinking generates an income for us instead of actually costing us something. So the more backlinks the more backlink sites we generate, the more money we make, not from our clients or not from our rank and rent sites, but actually from our network. And that kind of our everything we do, we tend to own. So if we become reliant on something, then we build our own.
Yeah.
And the reason we do that is because I hate somebody holding the keys to my kingdom, so to speak, or the shoestring to my life. And if they cut it, I'm like, it's just happened with that video software, and it's gone down, and it's ruined a lot of people because they was completely reliant on it. So I hate relying on third parties.
Yeah. It is something where they suddenly change their tactic, or they sell the business, and then the new business owner decides to bin it off or completely change it. It is a risk. You know, or worse than that, you bought a lifetime license and suddenly they start charging you. You know, that's another kick in the teeth, isn't it?
Yeah, you get the shiny objects that come out that last forever and they're gone in 6 months now. I mean, we do use things like SEMrush and Ahrefs and all the obvious tools, but as far as tools we use every single day on our networks and what we're doing, kind of the ones I've just listed.
Yeah. And are you listening to anybody in particular out there, or watching anything on YouTube, or listening to podcasts, or is there anyone new that you've noticed that sparked your interest?
I watch tons and tons of different people, like tons and tons of different people. But what I tend to do is I immerse myself into a subject, not into an individual, because as you know, like I follow Craig Campbell and I watch most of his videos. But every week's a different subject. SEO Fight Club with Kyle Roof and Ted Tobias, and I think there's another guy on there and I forgot now. He's a brilliant black hat guy. Clint Butler. I forgot his name then. I could just picture him and I forgot his name. But yeah, I kind of watch them regularly. But I tend to immerse myself into a subject. So what I'll do is I'll search the subject and go through as many videos as I possibly can till I know that subject like it's breathing. And then I'll go to another subject. So I won't watch and constantly watch all the time, because I don't want to be the same. They call it the shiny object syndrome online, don't they? Where people are jumping in one thing to another to another. So I kind of immerse myself in what's going on right now, and I ignore everything else, focus on that, get to the point where I know that better than almost anyone else, and then I move on to the next subject. And you can always catch up. If you spend a week looking at something, you can always catch up. So as far as individuals, other than those two, I listen to tons of people. I don't listen to the mainstream ones as much, like Neil Patel and things like that. I find they're very beginner type of stuff. So I tend to watch the smaller stuff, which I find, I mean, Craigsy's not smaller anymore, is it? He's getting really big, but
I think the likes of Neil Patel certainly have a good place in the ecosystem, but I think they've been sanitized to the point now that it's all very, very middle of the road stuff. You know, a lot of it is common sense. It's a bit like Gary V. You know, it's all common sense. You know, just put content out there. Yeah, that's really helpful, but it doesn't give you the how. It tells you the what, but it doesn't give you the how.
Yeah. And
I think that's, we'll perhaps be touching on that in a little while. In some respects, that's what people need. They need the how. They don't need the what, because the what is actually one of the most frequently given away secrets. Is the what, but the how is kind of the bit that is always missing.
I've been super lucky because one of my best friends from school, and we met when we were 14 because I lived everywhere. We met when we were 14, we got back in touch with each other in our 20s, 30s, maybe even. We got back in touch with each other in our 30s,
Right.
and he loves to really delve into all of the real like all the detail. He really loves to jump into the detail and pull through it all.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, he's one of my best mates. So whenever I struggle with anything, first thing I do is ring him and say, explain this to me so an idiot would understand it. He explains it so an idiot would understand it. I get it. And then I start looking at the subject on YouTube and follow loads of videos. And that kind of helps me understand the subject better that way. So
Yes.
I'm very, very lucky to have what you would class as a mentor that doesn't cost me any money.
That can't be bad.
No, that really does help. But yeah, and obviously he's doing amazing, but nobody knows really who he is or what he does, because when you're making loads of money, you don't need to flaunt it, do you?
International men of mystery. That's what you need. All females of mystery. It's sometimes the best way is to just go unseen, unnoticed. Because okay, so on to the next question, which is, what is one of the biggest SEO black hat myths that you'd like to debunk? You'd like to clear off the table?
Duplicate content is absolute bullshit. On a website, it's complete bullshit. It really is. I mean, stealing content from someone else's website is classed as duplicate content. But what a lot of people believe is that if you've got a 50-page website and you have the same content on every single page, and you only change the location information, geolocation data, longitude, latitude, things like that, that the rest of it's all duplicate content. And it's absolute bollocks, right? And I did this with one of my guys who works with me very closely. He's a very smart guy. Right. And I did it with him the other week, the niches that we keep secret. And I took him and I showed him some sites that we've got like 25,000 pages indexed. Now it's taken time to get to that level. Yeah. Indexed, ranking, not for long tail keywords, for keyword/location. And those websites are literally all sharing the exact same meta title. Not that, like, but what it'll be is keyword, location, county, region, or location, county, zip, or something like that. Yeah. And you just don't need it. And what we did is I showed him my sites that have got spin text on, showed him my sites that haven't. We went through all of them, like hundreds of different pages. And every single time, the quality, well-written content, which provides the company's message consistently across all locations, outranked to the spun content every single time. And people are doing the spun content because they want to, they believe that it's fresh content on every page, but it's absolute bollocks. It's not. Fresh content on every website is essential. But fresh content on every page is completely, I mean, it's like saying, I think it was Kyle who said it to me. It's like having a shop site where you've got a 25-inch, 30-inch, 40-inch, 50-inch, 60-inch tellies, yeah? Right? All 5 tellies on all 5 different pages. Other than the size of the telly, every other bit of content on the pages will be identical. And the reason is because it's the company message and it's all true and it's the relevant information about a business. There's no way a plumbing company, there's all these different services over here. And then if he goes to Liverpool, he does them all in a completely different way. Then if he goes to Oldham, he does it in a completely different way. And then in Rochdale, it's completely different. It's bollocks. So yeah, duplicate
probably
content.
The most unnatural thing ever, isn't it? It's like the most, you know, Tesco's don't change their stores. You know, at every single town, you know, they don't change their logo, they don't change their messaging, they just sell the same again, you know, and effectively that's what we're doing on, you know, on mass sites, on you know, other sites and so on and so forth. It's
mass sites, the situation with a lot of mass sites is what people are doing now, which we could do in 2011, is they're putting up 2,500, 3,500, 4,500 page websites instantly. Now, Google, the same as you and me, right? If you and me had a big, long criminal record, right, the government can look at it and say, there's his criminal record. That's what he's done. That's his history. That's why he's where he is now and does what he does. Okay. If you've got a big financial history, where you've been a millionaire, you've lost it 3 times, you've done this, that, and the other, you've got that history. A 2, 3, 4, 5,000 page website has a similar history to a person with a criminal record or a good education. So when you're sticking up 2,000 and 3,000 pages straight off the bat, you've got no history. You've got no foundation. It's like building a house on a beach. It's going to sink. You have to start smaller. So what what we do is we start 50-page websites. We build a
Right.
bit of a foundation. We get some backlinks in there. We start giving it a bit of history. In a lot of cases, we don't bother with social. And the reason we don't is because what we do is always trying to take money off trades and businesses. And if you try and look at a plumber or a roofer or electrician's page online, most of them have got no social anyway because nobody cares. Reviews is a different situation, but with regards to social, it's not. And
Yeah.
then what we do is we grow the pages over a period of time.
Right.
And it's kind of like the website growing up, like a person would. So you've got less history when you're 10 than you have when you're 20. So what we do is we start the sites off when they're 10 years old with 50 pages. And by the time it gets to 20, but obviously it's not going to take that long, it would thingy. So that's kind of how we work it. But yeah, I don't know why we got to this bit because we were talking about things that I'd say is absolute bullshit. And the one thing that I know is duplicate content. There is no duplicate. There isn't. It doesn't. It's stealing someone else's content's probably not going to rank as well. However, if your website, I mean, look at all the news sites. They all steal one another's content, and the one that's got the most relevance for whatever reason ranks at the top of Google. So even as far as that's concerned, I kind of would also disagree with that there's even a opinion. I think it's just a myth, an old wives' tale, probably started by people who build content spinners to
facilitate content spinners. I think it's interesting. I did a similar experiment just last year and only changed very, very few terms and words per page. And I can honestly say that they haven't been touched for a year. And sometimes you get a bit of movement, but a lot of the time they're rock steady and they're ranking very nicely, thank you very much, with little or no intervention from me.
Yeah,
so I agree.
Yeah, I know it's a fact because I've been doing this for God knows how many years, and I'm so lazy that I will duplicate websites left, right, and center and just move the locations. And I don't see a huge difference in the rankings as long as you stick a few backlinks on them, decent ones from expired domains that were in not even the same niche, just a similar industry.
Yeah,
then it works.
Yeah. So, what are the hot subjects that you think in SEO need tackling? What are the things at the moment that you see sort of springing up, but actually, need addressing in SEO?
I mean, basically, in my opinion, SEO needs to stop being sold so complicated because it isn't. Right. And if you stop worrying about all of the little things, like they'd say, if an exec's running a business, he probably makes 3 to 5 decisions a day, and everything else just works and he doesn't think about it. SEO is pretty much the same. You don't, unless you're trying to rank number 1 for a keyword like plumber on a national basis in a country, then all the other bits matter. But when you're trying to do local and you're trying to build sites that rank for keyword location in hundreds of locations and things like that, then it's so simple. I would avoid the complication that comes with a lot of the training I see out there. I mean, if you're interested in obviously image metadata and crazy things like that, then go and have a look at it. But it's not always as necessary. I think it was a guy called James Dooley said to me the other week, don't let perfect get in the way of good if good is good enough. So do as little as possible as long as it's good enough
to get the best results. Yeah,
exactly. If you're on page 1, forget about it.
If you don't need Rolls Royce.
Yeah, and it is. SEO's easy. It's just that people make it complicated. It doesn't need to be.
So let's fast forward to October the 14th, and Mike Martin's going to be standing on the stage. Can you give us a bit of an insight into what it is you're going to be talking to us about at the conference?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I actually was going to come in and show a load of black hat tricks and a few tricks that would help people. And when I looked at what I was going to teach people, I thought to myself, that's more of a magician's trick. You go on, you see it, and you're like, wow. Then you see it again, and you're like, okay, not that bad. Then you figure out how it happens, and you're like, that's a load of shit. So I actually decided, right, that what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on and I'm going to reveal to people the number 1 thing, the only thing that I've been doing that has caused all of my success, and it isn't mass page. Okay. The one thing I've been doing for the last 10 years that has enabled me to be successful in every single industry that I've gone after. And it's enabled me to dominate most of the industry when I've wanted to, and build solid networks that literally, unless you're as good as somebody like Holly Stark, they probably can't take down my networks. You know, unless you're an absolute machine and, you know, brilliant, then you're not going to be able to take down my networks. So, that's kind of what I'm going to reveal, is exactly the foundations of how we build these networks and how to build a network that grows from almost nothing to 6 figures a month with pretty much zero overheads, because every single part of your business will generate an income.
Wow.
I've also got some free stuff I'm going to give away as well on the day.
Oh, even better.
Yep.
Even better. I mean, that sounds like it's going to be something to behold. So you're going to give away some of your trade secrets, and also give away some app access or software access or something like that.
I should be there to find out.
Hey, well, that sounds amazing, Mike, and I am looking forward to hearing more about that on the day during your presentation. And for anybody who's interested in, maybe one day we'll show you why Mike is laughing so hard at what has just gone on, but it won't be in this video. But until then, just go to seounderground.co.uk to purchase your tickets, and you will see Mike at the event, and I hope to welcome you there, and Mike looks forward to seeing you, and we'll see you in the bar for a beer. But until then, it's Paul Hogden saying cheerio and goodbye from Mike.
Cheers, guys. See you there.
And goodbye from me. Thank you.